Hello and welcome back to the second instalment of this Grand Prix review. Again, reviewing the Austrian Grand Prix. However, this week it was the Styrian Grand Prix, but held in Austria. This is because you can't have two races at the same place. It would scramble up the results and event. It would just be crazy. So this one's the Styrian Grand Prix, held in Styria as we call it, or as the Austrians and Germans call it, Steiermark. And that's where this one's from. So without further ado, let's get into the race. And it was a good race this week. Obviously we had Lewis Hamilton, absolutely dominant pole and race win, so that was great from him. Had the crash with the Ferraris at the start, that was eventful. We'll get on to who's at fault there, or who I think at least is at fault there. Obviously the McLarens, again, solid performance, and it was just a good race throughout. One safety car, of course, came out of the first lap, and yeah, right, so let's get into it. So the Mercedes, first of all, they were pretty good today. There wasn't really much wrong with their strategy or their driving. Lewis Hamilton obviously finished the race with a 14-second lead. He didn't do anything wrong. The strategy was perfect. Their tyres were perfect. He was back on form today after having a bad week last week, obviously finishing in 4th. Pit stop was good. All of that was good. He was on pole yesterday as well with a stunning lap, 1.2 seconds faster than second place Max Verstappen. That, I don't know where it came from. Absolutely phenomenal. So that was absolutely brilliant. We've got Valtteri Bottas, of course, he also had a great race, didn't really put a foot wrong, started P3, overtook Verstappen obviously after his pit stop, had the fresher tyres. Verstappen thought Bottas was going to try and undercut, so they brought him in. He didn't. Bottas went longer on his stint with the soft tyres, then switched to mediums and managed to overtake Verstappen pretty easily towards the end of the race. Just went past him because Verstappen basically ran out of tyres. Bottas again didn't put a foot wrong really, finished second, 1-2 for Mercedes, perfect for them, perfect race. Ferrari, well, there's not much to say about Ferrari. They crashed on lap 1. That's it. No, yeah, Ferrari, a bit annoying for them because they had a brand new package that they wanted to test today, but it required both cars doing the full 71 laps of the race. Obviously, first lap, turn 3, Vettel was going alongside Leclerc, dive bombs. He's a bit ambitious, I think. I don't think he could have made it anyway. You look at it, ambitious and just hits Vettel. Not the best from him. He did admit fault and he apologised. They've just got to try and go next week. They aren't in a very good position, and I don't think we'll be contending for the championship after 2 bad results. Obviously, that second place still keeps Charles Leclerc up in contention, but that was last week, and with no points this week and everyone else getting points, it's very unlikely for him to go anywhere better. So that's really Ferrari's race. They didn't race. There's Red Bull next. Obviously, Max Verstappen. He had an okay race, kept out of trouble, but the strategy wasn't there, unfortunately. Obviously tried to cover up Bottas, didn't work because Bottas was on a different strategy, and just kind of burnt out towards the end of the race. He still finished P3, so he's probably happy about that, but he could have been P2, P1 if he had gotten a better strategy. Alex Albon, on the other hand, he wasn't really on the pace today, unfortunately. Finished P4, miles away from everyone else. He was about 35 seconds away from Max Verstappen and about another 30 seconds away from P4, which was him. Yeah, he was P4. 30 seconds away from P5, which was Lando. No, he wasn't. No, Lando was quite close, actually. No, I can't remember. Right, anyway. He wasn't too far away, Lando. But yeah, Albon had an okay race. Like I said, off the pace, he wasn't really there. He'll probably be discussing with his engineers what went wrong there. But yeah, he didn't have the best race he could have done. Almost had a repeat of last week into the turn 4. Yes, turn 4. Where Perez almost took him out. Luckily didn't. So he kept that P4, which was good. But that was really his race. We got the McLaren boys, Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris. Great pair. And they both had great races. Obviously, Carlos Sainz qualifying 3rd yesterday, just like Lando Norris did last week. Carlos Sainz, he had an okay race. His tyres just went off the cliff at the end of the race. Couldn't really get them back, so he made a pit stop, free pit stop. No one was behind him for a while. Got onto the softs, and he did set the fastest lap of the race whilst getting P9, so a few points there. Lando Norris obviously was behind Carlos Sainz for most of it, and then Sainz decided to the team and Sainz decided to let Lando through because he was quicker. Lando Norris, absolutely phenomenally, in the last few laps, overtook 3 cars from P8 to P5 and finished P5 with a great performance. I mean, that still keeps him third now in the Drivers' Championship, which for McLaren, that's what they want. Obviously, McLaren are second in the constructors as well. That's just what they want. So I bet Zach Brown, the CEO, would be absolutely delighted with that. Lando probably happy as well, and Carlos. He wasn't up there where he qualified, but he still got a few points. So that's great for him. After McLaren, we've got Red Bull, Ricciardo and Ocon. So Ricciardo, he had an okay race. He qualified 9th, and he had a decent race. I mean, he wasn't fast, but he wasn't slow. He was middle of the pack. Was doing some good on-track battles, but stayed really roughly around the middle. Didn't really do too much to get up there. Ocon obviously had engine problems. I've written down here, cooling issue. So his car had a problem with cooling, and they retired him as a precaution, just because obviously they didn't want the car to explode on the racetrack. That wouldn't be too good. So that was really Renault's race. Then you got Racing Point, Stroll and Perez. They had a good race until the last bit. They're fast, Mercedes 2.0 or pink Mercedes or Mercedes counterfeit Mercedes, whatever you want to call them. The FIA have said they're not similar, but again, you can see it. You can look and see it. They said they've got it off photos. I think there's more to it. Anyway, aside from that, had a good race. Perez was up there in P5, chasing Alex Albon. He got alongside Alex Albon into turn 4, hit Albon. Luckily, Albon could carry on, but that meant Perez's wing was damaged, which eventually allowed Lando Norris to slip right through and pass him for P5. Esteban Ocon, much of the same really, doing some good bits, just overtaking. Up there again, P6 or P7, fighting with Ricciardo. And then there was that incident at turn 3 with both of them, where Perez kind of bumped into Ricciardo. That opened the door for Lando Norris. Norris swept through, said thank you very much to those two, and then could overtake Perez. But yeah, Ocon and Perez, they had good races until the end. Unfortunately, they kind of just messed it up and lost it a bit in the end. So that wasn't the best. Haas, we've got Romain Grosjean and Kevin Magnussen. They weren't the best, they weren't fast, they were a bit slow, however they finished. That's what Haas would have wanted, that's what Gunther Steiner would have wanted, just wanted them to finish. After last week they both went out with brake problems. This week, much more consistent, they finished. Everyone was happy there. Just a bit of a morale boost really, obviously no points gained, but still the experience of finishing the first race, well their first finish of the season. And that's Haas's race really, not much there. Alfa Romeo, Kimi Räikkönen actually finished this one. No problems with his wheel coming off. He was good at a solid race. Didn't really see much of him, but he was just there doing things, overtaking, keeping it calm and simple and very nice. Antonio Giovinazzi even started from the pit lane, could have been disqualified because they worked on the car during Parc Fermé regulations. However, they decided to start him from the pit lane instead, give him a break, and he did okay. He finished. Well, he didn't finish in the points, I don't think, but he finished near them, so it was a good race from him as well. The AlphaTauri is next. Danny Kvyat, again, not too bad, not the best though, could have been pushing a bit more, just a bit slow today unfortunately, along with Pierre Gasly. Didn't do well, pit stop, he had to go to, well, he was at the back of the grid, overtook George Russell but couldn't do much more than that, finished P16 or 15, one of them, but unfortunately not the best from him. And then you've got the Williams, George Russell and Nicholas Latifi. Nicholas Latifi had a solid race. I mean, for a Williams, you can't really get far up the field without retirements. Nicholas Latifi had a solid race again, consistent, kept it where it needed to be on the track, and it was all good from him really. And George Russell, great qualifying yesterday, qualified P12 and got, well, P11 after Leclerc's penalty, sorry, and got himself into Q2, the first Q2 since Brazil 2018, I think, for Williams. I can't think that for sure, but I think that's true. And yes, had an amazing qualifying. Unfortunately, just in the race, got a bit lopsided on the entry to the corner, lost the car, and he couldn't regain it, and he just went off and then kind of sat out his race at the back of the grid. Back of the pack even, couldn't really do much more than that, unfortunately. So that was everyone's races. I think the race was a very good race. There was a lot of interesting things there. One safety car, obviously. 3 retirements, Ocon, Vettel and Leclerc. And yeah, I think it was a good race. Good second race of the season. Worth the wait again. I think Hamilton deserved the victory after what happened last week. Bottas was happy P2 and Verstappen happy P3. So I'd like to thank you everyone for listening to this, me just ramble on about Formula 1. That's all I like to do really. And yeah, Hungary next week, so I will make another video for then. But I hope to see you next week, and thank you very much, and goodbye. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you very much.